6 p.m. Please rise for a moment of silence followed by the pledge. Roll call.
Mr. Bailey.
Here.
Mrs. Bolton.
Here.
Mr. Fink.
Here.
Mrs. Lawson. Here.
Here.
Mr. Livingston.
Here.
Mr. Knoll.
Here.
Mrs. Rohrbach.
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Here.
Mr. Zepp.
Okay, we have reached the point of the meeting for the hearing of the patrons on agenda items only. We'll have another hearing of the patrons at the end of the meeting, and you can speak on any topic. Okay, seeing none, we'll move into approval of previous board minutes. Do we have a motion and a second to approve the previous board minutes from June 20th, 2024?
Motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Oh, sorry. Questions or comments on the previous board minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Treasury report, Mr. Marks.
Thank you. Do we have a motion and a second to approve 4.1 and 4.2? Any other questions or comments?
I had a quick question. I noticed from June to July, the capital reserve dropped 102,000. What was the change?
There was two projects that we had going on.
Okay,
We
thank you.
finalized, I think it was the painting and the flooring project.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's have it. Next is Secretary's report. Do we have a motion and a second to approve 5.1 through 5.8?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
When 5 got with that one general fund expenditures, so I noticed in June and July that we have the cyber charter and we charged in our 15 and our 76. So that carries through the cyber bill since our session.
No, they're usually bills from previous months.
So July's from June.
So that's when we're paying them, so they might be from April or May.
Okay.
So, and also, after the year's over, we will get a reconciliation bill, which will totally encapsulate the whole year, and then charge us for any overs or give us money back if we have kids that are on the bill that shouldn't have been.
So potentially the next 2 months, we might not see any charges.
No, I think, I just received another bill for the final reconciliation for Commonwealth, it was for $150,000, so I think there will be a couple more. But that's what's part of the audit, those transactions that would be recorded for the previous year, all accounts payable. So the bills that come into the district after the year's over, but will be counted in the year previous, and they occur.
Question? The ProCare Therapy sub-aid services, what kind of subs are they?
They're mainly for personal care assistance.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I had one. I had a couple. On the 14,676 for the Canadockley fire, are we reimbursed insurance on that?
Yes.
Thank you. And postage for $10,000. How much mailing do we do? Like I know everything that we get, from our kids' teachers and such like that. Everything comes electronically. How much actual mailing do we do?
There's a lot of different mailings that are required by law, but they have to be on paper. But I can get a pretty good account of what we spent
Now, I was just curious if, I think you really answered my question. Were we spending money on postage where we're doing things were required by law? Like, I know when we advertise something, it's $1,000 to do an RFP, because we have to advertise it in the newspaper, even though nobody reads the newspaper.
So, and the largest portion of the postage bill, have any guess what it would be? Bingo. So when we mail the tax bills out in July, that's the biggest portion.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yep.
Okay. The only other thing, and this may just be a request, but I know when we look at things like hotel reimbursements, there's oftentimes questions on those. Would it be possible to maybe put the number of nights and maybe even the city? Because, you know, a $250 hotel in San Diego isn't the same as a $250 hotel in Paducah. So, I mean, I think that helps us understand, you know, maybe why something is a particular dollar rate just based on location and number of nights. Thank you.
Question? Yeah. Are we going to do a roll call vote for the League of Innovative Schools renewal?
I could do how about I change the motion from 5.1 to 5.7?
Okay, what do those two little asterisks mean?
So that means they were added after the preliminary agenda was prepared. So these two motions were added in the meantime.
Okay, what is, so we're voting to purchase football uniforms?
Actually, it was part of the budget, but it was also part of the motion you previously adopted in June. Authorized me to put the budget in, prepared the order and the purchase of the items. So the football orders were originally, the order was prepared by the previous athletic director. It was put on hold until we found a new athletic director. Once that athletic, Mr. Finelli came on board, then he gave me the official order. But by the time he did that, it was in July. We already passed that one meeting. We issued that purchase order in July. The uniforms came in, and were delivered and counted, and then the bill came in last week. That's why you're seeing it so late.
Thank you.
Sure. So I will take my motion. We'll do a motion from 5.1 to 5.7 if the two people that made the motion are okay with that. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we need a motion on 5.8, League of Innovative Schools renewal.
Make a motion?
Any questions?
So my one caveat is, I'm going to ask for in the minutes, that when Dr. Mancuso does go to a meeting, and when he comes back, that the following month we have a detailed report about what breakout sessions he was at, and what was discussed.
Any other questions?
Just to clarify, it's for the administrators, right? This doesn't, the League of Innovative School Renewal is only for you guys and the administrators, right?
Most of the time, it's pretty much for superintendents.
Okay.
And so when I go to the meetings, I'm permitted to bring two guests with me.
Any other questions?
Dr. Mancuso, has a board member ever gone to that, or is that not possible?
I have not seen one at the League of Innovative Schools, but I mean, if there would, they've been there if it was the host school. Board members have been there just like we had our board members at our conference. But if a board member could most certainly go, if there was something that they looked at and shared the agenda, you're welcome.
Any other questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries. Okay.
we have a motion and a second to approve 6.1 through 6.5?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Motion carries. Also, we have the Secretary's report, donation and disposals. Do we have a motion and a second for 7.1 and 7.2?
Motion. Second.
Any questions or comments?
Where exactly do we dispose of the instruments?
Well, that's interesting. Some of these items might be traded in, so we might actually receive value back. So that's something we're trying to work through. I think, actually, if they are disposed to have no value, I think the immediate company will dispose.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Marks. Personnel, Dr. Mancuso.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to everyone. Starting with Superintendent Report Personnel, motion to approve 8.1 through 8.6.3 in its entirety.
Motion. Second. Any questions or comments?
Question on 8.3, when we have a teacher that, like this is what do we have to fill that with something in those 6 months?
Yes,
Okay.
we've already filled that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just like to take a moment to recognize Rachel Rogers, who's in the audience this evening. Rachel, congratulations and welcome to the administrative team at Eastern York. We're so appreciative to have you. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to Superintendent Report Curriculum, motion to approve 9.1 through 9.2.3.
Motion.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
10.0 Superintendent Report Policy, motion to approve 10.1 and 10.2.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
11.0 Superintendent Report New Business, motion to approve 11.1 and 11.2.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's all the business I have this evening, Mr. Bailey. Thank you.
Thank you. President's report, none at this time. Committee reports, operations, Mr. Livingston.
I'll just mention a couple things that we talked about on Tuesday that aren't on the agenda, but I think are worth a mention. Mr. Marks gave us an excellent update on the state budget and where we stand with that and the benefit that we are picking out from that financially. Also, he discussed the community eligibility provision with free lunches for the elementary. Should be about a $16,000 positive impact for the district. So I just wanted to publicly thank Mr. Marks for his work on that as well. We had an update from Mr. Hoover on buildings and grounds, and we had a facility fee usage update as well that we're going to look at more in depth in October.
Thank you. York LIU Joint Authority, Mr. Livingston.
The only thing to report on that is the next meeting is in September, and I'll be attending.
Thank you. York County School of Technology, we had last month off there. And we have York Worth County School of Technology Authority. Ms. Lawson. She's frozen.
Think you're good now? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Morgan Adams Academy, Mr. Fink.
Nothing to report. They were out for the summer, and our next meeting is in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Lincoln Intermediate, Mr. Borbaugh.
Yes, the minutes for the 2 August meetings are attached. I just wanted to mention too that they're in the process of interviewing to replace Dr. West, who will be retiring next year. So there are added approximately 5 additional meetings added, which I won't be attending those. I'll just be attending the monthly regular meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Borbaugh. Informational items. I'd like to point out the September operations meeting is canceled, and the board meeting will be Tuesday, September 17th. Final board comments and questions. Okay, final picturing comments or questions. Anything related to the agenda or not related to the agenda?
Laurie Lane.
Okay, Laurie Lehman, Howland Township. So I just was asking, I just wanted you to explain to me what the 10.2 is all about. On the sex-based distinction policy for students, what does that mean?
I'll let you address that, Garrett.
Yeah, that was briefly discussed the other night at the Operations Committee meeting. There's some interest at the board level to ask our firm to begin exploring potential policies in those areas. There are a few other districts around the county that have moved in that direction. Tonight is just the very first step to authorize us to begin investigating what might be potential in those areas. So stay tuned for additional information. Connection with that, I've also recommended that the board might consider appointing a committee to tackle that and other related policies. It might be more appropriate to do that in a committee structure versus a full board meeting. So more discussion on that will need to happen. And Mr. Bailey, something you and I should address too, how we may want to go about standing up a committee process to move this forward, given the vote tonight on 10.2. More to come.
So does that mean, is this refer to maybe boys playing on girls sports?
We don't know yet. That will be for the committee, if a committee is established, and the board to review. This is, again, just the very first step tonight to begin exploring those areas. Look for additional agenda items. If a committee is established, those meetings will all be public, and you and members of the district would be permitted to come and watch the deliberation process as that moves forward. So not there yet.
And one more question on your modern teacher learning. Has there been a poll taken whether or not all teachers in our school district are for this? Or are you getting some pushback from teachers who are against this?
We haven't done an official poll whether somebody is for or against it, Mrs. Lehman. That has been the approach that our school district has been moving with. We work with teachers on an individual basis and group basis who may need improvement, as well as moving forward with the initiative. So all our teachers are at different levels. What we have done is not survey. We have asked them to self-reflect on where they think they are in their levels of learning, and then we begin to design our professional development to help them improve in those different areas.
Okay, so if a teacher is, but do you take into account if a teacher is really feeling like the digital concept of the push on the digital part in the classroom, if the teacher is feeling that it's more overwhelmingly that you're wanting them to do the digital versus more hands-on approach, traditional approach?
I would tell you that I see more of a balance than an actual push towards all digital. We try to balance that. Sometimes there are lessons that are more geared towards using technology, and sometimes there are more lessons that might be more hands-on, and so, or, paper pencil. In the personalized approach that we are using with our students sometimes have choice as well to choose whether they want to do paper pencil or do a digital assignment. So that's how we are differentiating that with our students as well. So there's going to be a push to use technology, but some of the things that we are doing are not all technology driven as well, or digitally driven.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Me?
Yep. Yeah.
Good evening, Abby Duncan from Wrightsville Borough. About the rumors regarding the ILC and the two policies, the anti-LGBT policies you might be putting into place, I certainly hope that you really rethink it. Obviously, you have to know how many lawsuits have been brought against school districts who are bringing this group into the district. Parents, not all parents want this. I don't want this. I want my child to be treated just the same as everybody else's child in the district. And I just really hope that you guys really rethink this, because you will have a lot of pushback. I can promise you that. I am not the only parent out here. There is a slew of us proud parents, and we are ready. We're ready to come back at you if you decide to adopt this. So I really hope that you rethink it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Benez, Hello Bureau. I want to kind of piggyback on a couple questions. The two anti-LGBT things you're discussing, I'm not clear on what side of the table you're coming from. It was very hard to watch online. Audio wasn't of great quality. So I'm just confused on what side. I think, what's the first one?
There really isn't a side at this point. We're just exploring the policies and where that would lead. There's no clear-cut guidelines. We don't know if these policies will even be implemented. But at this time, we know that the board has interest in exploring those policies and seeing where that leads.
Okay, so one of them, I believe is like, from what I got, official, teachers can only use the official name that's put on paperwork with the school district when they register their kids. That's the only name a teacher can call them. They can't use nicknames if they prefer to be used by a different name or recognized by that name. I don't understand that. Is that where your question is? Or?
And we don't have any kind of policy established. You may be referring to some other districts' policies that have that language in their policy. But there is no current policy. We haven't even started development of a policy. But as things evolve, we'll be able to share that with the public of what we're trying to develop on these policies.
Okay, so you're not, you want a committee to see if what everybody thinks if they want to allow boys to participate in girls' sports or be in opposite bathrooms.
So that discussion, that's not in one of the policies that we're discussing at this point. The athletes' names is two policies that we're bringing forth that we have interest in discussion. As Garrett has said, a committee could be formed where those policies would be discussed, that would be open to the public, so a member like yourself could attend and listen to the discussions.
Okay. Okay. Do we need to have a committee to discuss that with sports? When I believe there's like 30 other districts doing the same thing. And if we put into place a policy that goes against Title IX, which the Supreme Court is reviewing now, and you say, this is what it is, and the Supreme Court says, no, you can't do that anymore, and you wasted time and money putting into it. You should just wait and see what the nation's going to do. Because I don't believe it's just a committee sitting around and asking these things. You're going to need to pay lawyers and other people to write the policy the correct way and in the correct language, when it may all be for naught.
And we have our attorney here representing us tonight.
I've discussed a couple of things with my children and some of their friends on some of the things that are being just recently been discussed, and they don't see a problem with anything going on now, so they don't understand why a policy needs to be put in place when a couple people, I've been told, that don't feel comfortable when using a bathroom. They just use the nurse's bathroom. So they avoid that whole situation.
We're not talking about that.
And again,
I would
this
say it's, my children are more worried about drugs, fights, bullying that are currently going on in the school than something that may happen. I hope that wasn't just a big one rambling. You understand what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, like I said, this is just the start of this, to review the policies. Any policy that we are reviewing or trying to craft, we're not looking to violate Title IX as well. So there's a fine line, there's things that gotta be done. So as far as having a policy next week, this is gonna be an evolving process. That'll take time till we get to a policy that meets everyone's standard of agreement.
I'll just add to that, as with any other policy, it will go through multiple reviews and multiple readings over the course of several months. So appreciate your interest in the topic. Watch the future meeting agendas for the board and the committee, if the committee is established, but it will go through likely multiple meetings before it even comes up for a vote. But again, appreciate your interest in the topic and stay tuned for more information.
I will.
Thank you very much.
Normally I don't attend or really look into it or ask questions, and I just happen to see posts on news and social media about what the school board was going to be doing before I even watched the board meeting where it was first brought up. So now piqued my interest, and that's why I'm now getting involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent, Board. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Jason Sable. I'm counsel with Stockton Leader. I work closely with Garrett, so if you ever shoot him an email and get a response from me, that's probably why. I'm working with Garrett a lot in this district and some other districts. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Garrett, I'm sure will give you my contact info, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Thanks for
Thank
jumping
you
up
very
there. I asked him to come along, just introduce himself tonight, get to know the board a little bit. He'll be helping me a lot moving forward, and you'll likely see him